Major events on Earth are actually aliens testing humanity to determine if they should make contact. We fail their tests spectacularly each time, but fact that we survive their tests has them dumbfounded. The idea of applying tests of political, social, cultural, and technological natures to candidates for uplift was not new, but the idea of biochemical and structural tests certainly was. There had already been several, frankly disastrous attempts to directly uplift presentient Homo species, and after allowing them to progress to sentience on their own, it became rapidly apparent that if this wasn't managed carefully, there would be another incident like the Rigel 2B affair. And that took mass production of chemical weapons to solve. It was always the case on war worlds. Sol 3rd, Rigel 2B, Theta Auriga 6. They had evolved from constant competition and predator-prey relationships. Without the mitigation of cooperation on peace worlds or of distance on solitary worlds, war worlds became violent places, and sentience not dying out on its own in the long term was frankly unusual. But Earth had flourished, and there had appeared to be so much hope for this curious dot with its tenacious creatures. Their own authors described themselves as where the fallen angel meets the rising ape, and it's a fair description. Enslaved to their own forms but desiring so much more, how could we not assist? But they were a war world, and untreated and untamed they would destroy the galaxy's delicate balance. They would be unable to appreciate the subtleties of our power exchanges, driven by their instincts to see all as an enemy and everything as a weapon. Even their peace activists see the road to peace as being washed slick with blood. How could a war world understand? How could we understand them, we of our peace worlds who knew little or nothing of weapons until we met those who knew nothing else? How could anyone comprehend the xenophobic solitary worlders who so assiduously managed their own population rate, lest they choke themselves and die like a sapling in a bed of vines? And so we tested them, and so we tested. Vesuvius was a mistake. We had not understood their psychology, had not appreciated that those who remained did so not due to a logical assessment of risk, but due to a kind of stubborn refusal to see it. So many dead. They will never know that there was an hour of silence then, across 100 worlds, for a species who kill each other in droves every day. But then, such is our way. We are no higher above our instincts than them. We're just better at lying to ourselves. And yet they rebuilt. More than that, they flocked. They farmed the new soil, planting vineyards in the same ash that killed 2 cities. They built bigger and higher, stronger and faster. They didn't just survive, they flourished. We pushed onwards. Hurricanes were weathered until radar allowed for evacuation, until atmospheric manipulation allowed for diversion. Earthquakes killed thousands, and new buildings were built to sway and bend. Rather than reject sites out of hand, they used them. They used volcanoes to heat their water, monsoons to plant their crops. We thought we'd gone too far with the bubonic plague, but they survived, they evolved. Within a decade, children were born that would never fear the violet rings and blue-black blood of a weapon that we designed. Spanish flu wasn't our fault, though many of the Outer Council members believe it to be a conspiracy. They fought bravely and won, and it only cost them 120 million lives. That number would have left a peace world empty, but war worlds always are good at breeding. Initiating false flag attacks and propagating the dissemination of radical materials, any radicals, is standard practice in strain testing a political culture, but we didn't even get a chance. They seem to be doing remarkably well on that themselves, and the fact they're not dead yet is frankly quite impressive. We watched the Khmer Rouge and the Holocaust with a kind of sickened fascination, the notion of genocide being a new concept even amongst war worlds. Not even Ciccarini went that far. But the outcry against such actions was what saved them. Some of their political figures might not have been out of place on a peace world, and their horror at the raw power of atom weapons prevented our agents arranging for an accidental supercriticality incident, which is standard practice for a war world with atomic weaponry. In all, honorable members, I think they've earned it. Not enlightenment, not at their current stage. We rarely even enlighten solitary worlds before their first interplanetary colony is achieved, and doing so to a war world is patently ludicrous. However, I think they've earned permanent delisting from the war world termination list. Despite their flaws, and they are many, they have seeds enough for peace sown in good ground, and I say we give them a chance. Votes against, 12 votes for, 26 abstentions, 0 motion carried.